Good morning. How are you,
Good
Natalie?
Hey!
morning.
Hello.
Oh, good morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
You got just me today, no Krista.
It's okay. We will happily take it. Good to see you.
You
Um,
too.
I know that we have been obviously chatting about different people groups throughout this morning's show in terms of considerations, but let's focus a little bit in this last segment on women being asked to go back into the office and what you're
hmm
seeing in terms of the impact that that's having on
hmm
them.
hmm Um, I think overall it just makes things more and more challenging. When when y'all mentioned to me about having this conversation, I reflected back on, let's say, 3, 4 years ago when I used to commute into an office, and I had a kid at that time, and just the reality of like, how did I do that? How did I make it into an office on time, stress myself that much during a commute, come home, do the whole family thing? Um, I think that in a market like this, companies that are not being mindful of just general individuals that have families, but then especially women who oftentimes tend to be the primary caretaker, it's just making it more complex for them when I firmly believe that if you hire an accountable, trustworthy employee, they should be capable of running their desk, doing their job, and being effective at it. And that's where you should bring in the KPIs, the metrics, and performance um, measures to make sure that they're doing the job correctly. Um, if you double down on that a little bit, there's also single mothers. Myself, Krista, we are both single parents. Between the two of us, we have 4 kids. And so we could probably never go back into an office. And that's part of the reason that we started Talent Collective, was one, to have the flexibility for ourselves. We're obviously passionate about what we're providing to the community. But take an example like this morning. Krista couldn't be here today because she has to drop off her kids by 8:10, school drop off. How would she make it into an office that expected her to be there at 8:30 a.m.? So I'm just throwing in some examples there. I think that companies are just not really being mindful of the big picture and how it affects humans in general in terms of their personal lives, and are requiring the back to work when I think there's other ways where people can be really effective.
thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah.
think this conversation is so important, and it's something I'm thinking about too, as I am not currently a mother, but I'm
Right.
definitely, I want to be a mother in the future. And it's actually something that a lot of my friends who are now getting engaged or moving in with their boyfriends
Mm-hmm.
are thinking about as well.
Absolutely.
How am I evaluating a place of work and potential employers? Well, as a woman, I have to take into account not just benefits regarding pregnancy and time
Mm-hmm.
off, but it's also flexibility and degrees of flexibility, even within an organization. I have a friend that works at a large company, a travel company, and they went from 2 days a week in the office, a hybrid schedule
Mm-hmm.
that she was very content with, to now 3 to 4 days in the office. And just that switch
Mm-hmm.
alone had her questioning, going from, oh, I could spend my life at this company, and she's
Mm-hmm.
around my age, to, oh, wow, I really have to reconsider this decision.
Yeah. And the quality of life that she will have in the coming years when she starts future planning, for what she wants that to look like.
Very
It's a
real.
great point.
So do you think the other question companies need to be asking is, if you are going to have a return to office mandate, like, how flexible are you,
Mm-hmm.
and how are you actually working with women in your organization who are mothers, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean really all of us who have families, like,
Everybody.
People with disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
caretakers. I mean,
Yep.
it's probably a majority percentage of workers that we're actually talking about here.
so
Mm-hmm.
but like, how do they need it? Do company need to be facilitating conversations more around this? Like, what's your advice to leaders? Because it doesn't, it seems like what's happened is they're really wanting to go back in time now. Like, it seems like a lot of companies are just wanting to go back in time to before remote work and all this stuff was the kind of the norm. They're kind of wanting to go back in time and then not aware of the fact, or it doesn't feel like they're actually acknowledging that the world has actually changed. Like childcare is insane. There's a lot of other things that happened during the pandemic that have just made life in general harder. And they're wanting to go back to like, whatever, 2018. So like, how would you advise company leaders to be having this conversation and to be, what are some tips for them that you have on like just flexibility as a whole?
First, I'll say, in cases, I get why companies are requiring the return to work, right? They have these large campuses, these leases on these buildings, or they own these buildings, and what are they going to do with them? They're just going to be empty. So there is a rock and a hard place that they're in. In some cases, they're very cognizant of their company culture or the team dynamics. There are benefits to being in an office, but if you aren't going to be a remote first company, making sure that throughout the interview process or onboarding process, understanding how would you need flexibility in your role to accomplish the requirement that we have for X amount of days with the requirements you need in your personal life, and how can we kind of meet in the middle. So making it less about all the things that the company needs, but also what does your employee need? Because then you're just going to have more and more churn. And is that the reality of what you want? You're just going to constantly be filling seats because people are unsatisfied. I think one, taking a look at who their employees are, right? Do you have demographic data on any of them that are parents? Do you have focus group conversations? I mean, you have to do this in a very non-discriminatory way. I don't have the answer to that, but how do you get a sense of who the people are within your organization and what stages of life to then accommodate them and meet them where they are? I don't have a perfect answer, Joel. I know that when I think about my life in general, I would only ever be able to go to a company that was either remote first 100% or said, we do require work in office, but you can pick the days and the time and you're self-accountable. That would be the only two scenarios that I would ever consider at this stage of my career.
And I think that's fair, right? Like, I think, Natalie, you know what's true for you, and you lean into that. We do need, we also, from a holistic standpoint, we do have to remember that some of us get to operate from a position of privilege in having options.
Yep.
And that is not the case for a number of people who are in the workforce who couldn't necessarily, though they may desire to have some work from home flexibility, the careers that they are a part of, or other factors that play into it, don't afford them that same opportunity. So I want to just be sensitive to the fact that while this is right specific to some of our own experiences, it really may not be something that is possible for other workers that are in the workforce right now, and honestly for some industries. I spoke with some attorneys who were very hot to start a kind of group to advocate for continued workplace flexibility and hybrid work, and create legal action if companies try to pull employees back to work and that sort of stuff. And my response was, I hear you, I'm with you. I appreciate that. Did you order food this week? Did you use Instacart to get your groceries delivered? Like, did you? And they're like, yeah. Did you go out to dinner over the weekend? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who did all that? How did those people bring you your stuff, whether to your table or to your house? You can't do all those jobs remotely, right? So I think, again, just to keep in mind as you're looking at the workforce, own what's true about your industry. Because I think, to your exact point, if you're not really like transparent from the onset to say there aren't really opportunities for there to be a remote nature or hybrid nature for this role, just own it as a company. Don't apologize. Just own what's true for you.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Natalie. It was so nice to meet you officially.
I know, officially. Yes.
We'll have to continue this
More time
conversation for sure.
Where can people find out about Talent Collective? That's what I want to know.
gosh, everywhere.
Yes.
No, just kidding.
Yes. Yes.
talentcollectiveco.com. We actually have a brand new website launching on Thursday, so
Woo!
don't all
Woohoo.
go there
Crash it.
on Thursday,
Let's all
please.
crash it.
Oh my
But we're
gosh.
having a
Everyone
little
go to the website.
facelift, or Talent Collective on LinkedIn. That's where we post heavily on there, all of our events, virtual, in person. So those are the two best places. Thanks for asking, Joel.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome. So cool. So cool.
Thanks so much,
Yes, thank you.
Natalie.